In a world before fast food apps and celebrity chefs, American housewives were running kitchens like magicians. They stretched a single dollar into days of meals, turned scraps into family feasts, and cooked with creativity that today's generation can barely imagine. These were the survival skills that carried families through the 1960s, and these 30 clever cooking tricks are too good to stay forgotten. Housewives would drop 2 ice cubes right into their meatloaf mixture, and the result was magic. The ice melted slowly during baking, creating steam that kept cheap ground beef moist and tender instead of turning into dry cardboard. This trick saved countless family dinners when ground beef was the only affordable protein available. The ice disappeared completely during cooking, leaving behind juicy meatloaf that tasted like it came from an expensive restaurant instead of a tight household budget. Now we pay premium prices for high-fat ground beef while complaining about grocery costs, never knowing that a simple ice cube once made the cheapest meat taste like luxury. Brown sugar turned into concrete blocks overnight, but smart women tucked apple slices into their sugar containers. The natural moisture kept pounds of brown sugar soft and scoopable for months, preventing the frustrating chore of chipping away rock-hard sugar with hammers. The apple slices were replaced weekly to prevent spoilage, but they saved countless baking sessions from disaster when recipes called for smooth brown sugar that measured properly and mixed easily. Today we throw away hardened brown sugar and buy expensive resealable packages that still dry out, having forgotten the simple apple trick that once kept sugar perfect for pennies. Those serrated grapefruit spoons made the cleanest tomato cores imaginable. The pointed tip pierced easily, while the saw-like edges cut through tough skin and membranes without crushing the fruit or making a mess. Canning season meant bushels of tomatoes that needed quick, efficient preparation. The grapefruit spoon could hollow out perfect tomato cups for stuffing or remove seeds for sauce in half the time it took with regular knives. Modern kitchens have expensive gadgets for every task, but most people still struggle with tomato preparation, while the perfect tool sits unused in the silverware drawer. A splash of club soda in pancake batter created restaurant-quality results from basic ingredients. The carbonation made tiny bubbles that transformed dense, heavy pancakes into light, airy breakfast treats that made Saturday mornings feel special. The trick worked best when club soda was added at the last minute before cooking. Families gathered around tables filled with perfect pancakes that demonstrated how creativity could turn ordinary ingredients into memorable meals. Now we buy expensive pancake mixes and complicated batters while missing the simple carbonation secret that once made weekend breakfasts feel like celebrations. A tiny pinch of salt in coffee grounds eliminated bitterness without adding sweetness, transforming harsh, cheap coffee into smooth brew that started mornings on positive notes instead of bitter disappointment. This trick saved kitchen harmony when husbands complained about morning coffee made from budget grounds. The salt enhanced natural coffee flavors while neutralizing acids that made inexpensive coffee undrinkable. Modern coffee culture focuses on expensive beans and complicated brewing, while ignoring the salt trick that once made any coffee taste like premium blends for practically no extra cost. Spreading mayonnaise instead of butter on bread created the most evenly golden, crispy grilled cheese sandwiches. The oil in mayonnaise conducted heat better than butter, browning consistently without burning. Children never suspected their favorite sandwiches contained mayonnaise. They just knew these tasted better than any others. The crispy, golden exterior became the standard that made every grilled cheese a success. Today, we struggle with butter that burns or spreads unevenly, while the mayonnaise method that guaranteed perfect results every time sits forgotten. A tablespoon of vinegar in pie crust prevented tough, chewy pastry by stopping gluten development. The acid created tender, flaky crusts from regular flour without expensive pastry flour or specialized ingredients. County fair contests were won by women who understood this simple chemistry that transformed ordinary ingredients into prize-winning pies. The vinegar flavor disappeared completely during baking, leaving perfect texture. Now we buy pre-made crusts or struggle with tough pastry, having lost the vinegar secret that once made perfect pies from scratch. Stale bread heels tucked into cake containers kept homemade cakes moist for days. The bread absorbed just enough moisture to prevent cakes from drying out while adding no flavor to delicate desserts. Mothers could bake cakes days ahead of parties, knowing they would taste fresh baked when served. The bread heel method worked better than expensive containers or plastic wrap that often made cakes soggy. Today we wrap cakes in plastic and watch them dry out anyway, then throw away stale cake instead of using a simple bread heel to keep desserts moist and delicious. Adding ice water to rice before cooking created individual grains that never stuck together or turned mushy. The cold water shocked the rice while the ice melted slowly during cooking, creating perfect texture every time. This technique guaranteed rice that impressed company dinners and satisfied everyday meals. Each grain remained separate and fluffy, making rice a side dish that enhanced meals instead of disappointing families. Modern rice cookers promise perfect results, but often produce sticky, disappointing rice, while the ice water method that once guaranteed success is completely unknown. A light dusting of baking soda on tough cuts of meat broke down fibers and created tender results from cheap beef. The meat was rinsed before cooking to remove any alkaline taste. This trick turned round steak into something that could be served to company without embarrassment. Tough cuts became tender enough for family dinners that satisfied everyone without breaking grocery budgets. Today we pay outrageous prices for tender cuts while avoiding cheaper meats that could be made delicious with a baking soda treatment that costs pennies. The starchy water left from boiling potatoes made perfect gravy thickener without flour or cornstarch. The potato starch created smooth, lump-free gravy that enhanced the flavor of pot roasts and fried chicken. Smart cooks saved every drop of potato water, using it to create rich gravies that impressed guests and satisfied hungry families. The starch worked better than commercial thickeners while costing nothing extra. Now we struggle with lumpy gravy and expensive thickeners while potato water goes down the drain, never knowing it once created perfect gravy for free. Holding a piece of bread soaked in milk in the mouth while cutting onions prevented tears and burning. The dairy absorbed sulfur compounds before they could reach sensitive eyes and cause painful reactions. This trick made large-scale onion preparation possible during canning season, when pounds of onions needed chopping without reducing the cook to tears throughout the process. Today, we suffer through onion cutting with streaming eyes, while the milk method that once solved this problem completely is unknown to most cooks. Stirring beaten egg whites into cloudy soup clarified it perfectly, creating crystal-clear liquid that looked professional. The egg proteins attracted particles like magnets, leaving behind beautiful, transparent broth. This technique turned ordinary soup into something elegant enough for company dinners. The clarified broth demonstrated sophisticated cooking skills that elevated simple ingredients into restaurant-quality presentations. Modern cooks accept cloudy broth as normal, while the egg white method that once created crystal-clear results is completely forgotten. Using thread or dental floss to cut soft cheeses created perfect slices without crushing. The thin line cut straight through delicate textures without disturbing cheese structure or creating messy pieces. This method was essential for serving cheese at parties where presentation mattered. Perfect slices demonstrated attention to detail that impressed company and showed respect for both food and guests. Today, we struggle with expensive cheese cutters, while thread that once solved the problem perfectly is overlooked as a cutting tool. Brushing lemon juice on cut apples and pears prevented browning for hours, keeping fruit salads looking fresh and appetizing instead of oxidized and unappetizing brown. This trick was essential for potluck dinners, where fruit needed to look perfect for extended periods without refrigeration. Beautiful fruit encouraged people to eat healthy foods that might otherwise be rejected. Today, we accept brown fruit as normal, while the lemon juice method that once kept fruit beautiful and appetizing is rarely used. Mixing cornstarch with flour for frying created the crispiest coatings on chicken and fish. The cornstarch absorbed moisture while creating a light, crunchy exterior that stayed crispy longer than flour alone. Restaurant-quality fried chicken came from home kitchens, using this simple ratio that made ordinary ingredients produce extraordinary results. The coating never got soggy or fell off during cooking. Today we use expensive coating mixes, while cornstarch that once created perfect fried foods sits unused except for thickening sauces. Sprinkling sugar on fresh berries an hour before serving drew out natural juices that created perfect syrup for pancakes and desserts. The sugar dissolved slowly, creating naturally sweetened fruit that needed no additional preparation. This technique turned ordinary berries into elegant dessert toppings that impressed guests while using ingredients most kitchens already contained. The natural syrup was better than anything store-bought. Now we buy expensive berry syrups, while sugar that once created better results from fresh fruit is only thought of as a sweetener. Adding hot milk gradually to egg-based sauces prevented curdling that could ruin hollandaise and custards. The temperature control allowed proteins to set properly without scrambling into lumpy disasters. This technique saved countless holiday meals when delicate sauces were essential for special dinners. Professional results came from understanding simple temperature control that made difficult sauces foolproof. Modern cooks avoid making delicate sauces, while the hot milk method that once guaranteed success is unknown to most home kitchens. A few drops of vanilla extract in chocolate cake and frosting intensified chocolate flavor without adding sweetness. The vanilla compounds enhanced cocoa's natural taste, making chocolate desserts richer and more satisfying. This discovery came from experimental baking when ingredients were scarce, but flavor was essential. The combination became standard in professional bakeries that understood how flavors work together. Today, we use artificial chocolate enhancers, while vanilla that once improved chocolate naturally sits unused for this purpose. Keeping butter cold and cutting it into flour created the flakiest biscuits with distinct layers. The cold fat didn't melt until baking, creating steam pockets that made biscuits light and tender instead of dense. This technique separated good cooks from great ones, creating biscuits that impressed neighbors and satisfied hungry families. The method required patience, but produced consistently perfect results. Modern biscuit mixes promise convenience, but deliver disappointing results, while the cold butter method that once guaranteed perfect biscuits is forgotten. Wiping bacon grease into cast iron pans after washing seasoned them perfectly, creating non-stick surfaces that improved with use. The fat polymerized during heating, building layers of natural coating that prevented rust and sticking. This maintenance kept expensive cast iron cookware functional for decades. Properly seasoned pans became family heirlooms passed down through generations of good cooks who understood tool care. Today, we buy non-stick pans that wear out quickly, while cast iron that could last forever sits unused because we've forgotten how to season it properly. Dropping fresh eggs into already boiling water set the whites immediately, preventing wispy strands that made poached eggs look messy. The hot water cooked whites while keeping yolks soft and runny. Restaurant-quality poached eggs came from home kitchens using this timing technique that made difficult cooking seem effortless. Perfect eggs impressed breakfast guests and satisfied family brunches. Modern egg poaching gadgets promise perfect results, but often disappoint, while the boiling water method that once worked perfectly is unknown to most cooks. Tossing berries and chocolate chips in flour before adding to cake batter prevented them from sinking to the bottom during baking. The flour coating helped delicate ingredients stay suspended throughout the cake. This trick created evenly distributed mix-ins that made every slice perfect. Blueberry muffins and chocolate chip cookies looked professional when ingredients stayed where they belonged, instead of settling. Today, we accept uneven distribution as normal, while the flour coating method that once solved this problem perfectly is rarely used. Soaking lettuce in salt water for 10 minutes restored crispness to wilted leaves. The salt drew out excess moisture, while the cold water plumped cells, making old lettuce look and taste fresh again. This revival technique saved countless salads from being thrown away. Expensive lettuce got second chances when simple saltwater treatment restored original crispness and appearance. Modern pre-washed greens cost more and spoil faster, while the saltwater method that once rescued wilted lettuce is completely forgotten. Rubbing a small amount of oil on hands before handling sticky bread dough prevented endless sticking and mess. The oil barrier allowed proper kneading without adding extra flour that could make bread heavy. This technique made bread baking manageable for home cooks who wanted fresh loaves without professional equipment. Properly kneaded dough produced better texture and rise than flour-dusted alternatives. Today we avoid making bread from scratch, while the oiled hands method that once made home baking easy is unknown to most modern kitchens. Dipping the knife in warm water between cuts created clean cake slices without dragging frosting or crumbs. The warm blade cut smoothly through layers while preventing the messy tears that ruined presentation. This simple step made birthday cakes and special desserts look professional. Clean slices showed respect for both the cake and the people being served, demonstrating proper technique that impressed guests. Modern cake servers promise better results, but work less effectively than a wet knife that once created perfect slices using tools every kitchen already possessed. Placing paper towels under fried foods absorbed excess grease without making coatings soggy. The towels pulled away oil while allowing air circulation that kept fried chicken and fish crispy longer. This technique created restaurant-quality fried foods at home. Proper grease removal made fried foods more pleasant to eat and less greasy than modern deep-fried alternatives that often leave diners feeling heavy. Today, we accept greasy fried foods as normal, while the paper towel method that once created perfect results is overlooked as basic technique. Taking eggs out of refrigerator 30 minutes before baking allowed them to reach room temperature, creating better incorporation into batters. Warm eggs mixed more easily and created smoother textures than cold eggs that often left lumps. This preparation step separated experienced bakers from beginners, creating consistently better results in cakes, cookies, and other baked goods that required proper mixing for success. Modern recipes rarely mention temperature, while the room temperature method that once guaranteed better baking results is forgotten by most home cooks. Rubbing used coffee grounds into tough steaks and roasts broke down muscle fibers while adding rich, smoky flavor. The caffeine and acids in coffee naturally tenderized meat without expensive marinades or chemical tenderizers. This technique turned cheap cuts into something special for Sunday dinners and company meals. The coffee flavor was subtle but distinctive, creating steaks that tasted like they came from expensive steakhouses instead of budget grocery stores. Today, we throw away coffee grounds while paying premium prices for pre-marinated meats that often contain artificial tenderizers and chemical flavors. Coating ham with mustard before baking sealed in moisture while creating a flavorful crust. The mustard acted as a barrier that prevented juices from escaping while adding tangy flavor that complemented the meat perfectly. This trick guaranteed moist, flavorful ham for holiday dinners and special occasions. The mustard coating created beautiful golden color while keeping expensive ham from becoming dry and disappointing. Modern glazes promise similar results, but often burn or become too sweet, while the mustard method that once created perfect ham is rarely used by home cooks. These forgotten cooking tricks weren't just kitchen shortcuts. They were essential skills that kept families well-fed on tight budgets. The women who mastered these techniques understood that good cooking came from knowledge, not expensive ingredients or fancy equipment. Every trick solved real problems that made cooking easier, more economical, or more delicious. They proved that understanding simple food science could produce results that rivaled professional kitchens using ordinary ingredients and basic tools. The knowledge disappeared when convenience replaced creativity and processed foods replaced home cooking. But the principles remain sound. Proper technique still matters more than expensive ingredients when creating memorable meals that bring families together around the dinner table. Anyway, that's it for the video, folks. Bye.